You know, trying to figure out modern medicine can feel like you're reading a map in a totally foreign language, right? You've got complex treatments, confusing instructions, and just this constant flood of new information. But what if I told you there's a whole field of experts whose entire job is to make sense of it all? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on these unseen guardians of medicine to really dig into what drug information is and why it's so vital.
I mean, come on, we've all been there. You leave the doctor's office, you swing by the pharmacy, you get home with a new medication, and then a dozen questions hit you all at once. Am I taking this right? What are the real side effects? Will this mess with my other meds? And that feeling of being overwhelmed is super common, and honestly, for good reason. The world of medicine is just massive.
To give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, just look at this number. In 2019 alone, the United States spent over $500 billion on pharmaceuticals. That's a staggering amount of medicine flowing through our healthcare system, and every single one has its own set of rules, risks, and benefits.
And here's the scary part. When things go wrong, the consequences are serious. An estimated 1.3 million emergency room visits happen every single year because of what we call adverse drug events. These aren't just statistics. They're real people getting hurt, often from medication mistakes that could have been prevented. This just screams out how badly we need safety and clarity.
It all adds up to what you could pretty much call a modern medication maze. And it's one that both you, the patient, and your doctor have to navigate every single day.
So this really brings us to the core question, doesn't it? With all these moving parts, rising costs, incredibly complex new drugs, and constant pressure on everyone, how do we make sure that every pill taken is actually making us healthier and not causing harm? Well, the answer lies with a group of specialists who've been working behind the scenes for decades.
The story of the solution actually begins back in the middle of the 20th century. This is when a new kind of specialist popped up to handle the information explosion. Think of them as the first responders for medication questions. You can see how the idea really took off right here. It all started in 1962 with just one center at the University of Kentucky. It was designed to be the central hub for unbiased drug information. And that concept, wow, it clearly met a huge need, because it peaked at over 120 centers by the mid-'80s. And while the model has changed a bit over time, 82 of these highly specialized centers are still doing this crucial work today.
So, what is drug information exactly? Well, it's not some dusty library full of old facts. It's an active, hands-on skill. It's the whole process of hunting down unbiased, evidence-based data, critically evaluating it, and then applying it to make someone healthier. This could be for just one person, like helping a doctor pick the right prescription for you, or it could be for an entire hospital population, like creating a brand new safety policy. It's really the science of turning raw data into better health outcomes.
But here's where things get really interesting. This role didn't just stay locked away in some special center. It evolved. It went from being the job of a few gatekeepers to being a core skill for every guide in the healthcare system. And the biggest reason for that change? You guessed it, technology. I mean, just think about how much the world has changed. Back in the 60s, if a doctor needed info, a specialist might have to physically dig through print journals or, get this, mail a request to the National Library of Medicine and just wait for a reply. Information was slow, it was siloed. Now, we have this fire hose of data at our fingertips, right? Electronic health records, mobile apps, the entire internet. The problem isn't a lack of information anymore, it's the overwhelming flood of it and trying to sort the good from the bad. And hey, this is not a new problem. This quote right here is from a huge report on the pharmacy profession all the way back in 1975. Even then, experts knew that a lack of good, accessible information leads directly to people using drugs the wrong way. They saw pharmacists as the key to solving this, and that vision has really shaped the entire profession into what it is today.
So what does this modern drug information expert, your local pharmacist, actually do with this toolkit? It's not just about looking things up on a computer. It's a highly structured, systematic process, and it's all designed to ensure quality and safety.
Check out this approach. It's like being a detective. First, they gather all the clues. not just what's in the patient's chart, but the full context. Then they figure out the real question, which, believe it or not, isn't always the one being asked. Only then do they start the search, sifting through all the evidence to separate fact from fiction. And the final steps are about translating all that complex data into a clear, useful answer, and then following up to make sure it actually works. It's a full-on investigation for every single question. And this methodical approach, it isn't just some academic exercise. It has direct, real-world consequences. It literally saves lives. Let me give you a perfect example of how connecting the dots can prevent serious harm.
Okay, so picture this. At a medical center, the Drug Information Center gets 3 reports of a very rare but serious side effect in just 2 weeks. All of them were linked to a benzocaine spray. Now, an individual doctor might see one case and just think, that's a fluke. But the center, they sought a pattern. A pharmacist investigated and found that all 3 cases had one thing in common: the same nurse. By just observing the nurse's technique, the pharmacist discovered she was using several sprays instead of the recommended single brief spray. She was accidentally giving a toxic dose. The solution was so simple: a quick training session for the nursing staff. And after that, the adverse events stopped completely. That is the power of drug information in action.
And this kind of expertise is needed everywhere in healthcare. You'll find these specialists right on the front lines in hospitals, inside pharmaceutical companies helping shape new drug info, in universities teaching the next generation of pharmacists, and even working with the government in insurance companies to build smarter, safer policies for all of us.
So let's bring this all back to you, because this isn't just about experts in some far-off center. This is about the most accessible healthcare professional you have, your pharmacist.
Yeah, that pharmacist behind the counter is your personal drug information specialist. They're the one who can help you make sense of a complicated new therapy, who can cut through the noise of all those internet ads, and who even works behind the scenes to manage huge issues like drug shortages. They are your most direct and accessible partner in health, period.
And the need for this kind of trusted guide has never been greater. Let's be real. We are all active players in our own healthcare now. Most of us search for health info online. We use our smartphones as medical references. A lot of us use complementary medicines. With all that information and activity, the potential for confusion and, frankly, dangerous interactions is huge. Your pharmacist is the essential guide to help you interpret it all safely.
So the next time you see your pharmacist, remember, they are so much more than a dispenser of pills. They are your personal information expert, a guardian of your health,